The declaration is brief, almost understated, yet it carries more weight than the destruction of fleets to Tain. Archivist personnel will receive full legal recognition under human ethical law. Trials will be transparent. Representation guaranteed. No punitive action outside due process. The message radiates across stabilized channels. It is not a victor's boast. It is procedure calm, structured, immovable. For many archivist prisoners, the words strike harder than any weapon. Their empire taught them that defeat meant obliteration or erasure. Instead, they hear a tone reserved for equals. Human fleets maintain loose containment geometry around the secured vessels, but the posture is unmistakably not. Human medics rotate through the captured ships. Psychological monitors offer assessments without judgment. Nutrition units distribute rations calibrated to archivist physiology. Every act reinforces the same principle. Power does not require cruelty. The galaxy, watching, trembles. Neighboring systems begin transmitting inquiries, some cautious, some openly defiant of the compact's former authority. The Vivali's assembly demands legal clarity. The Kesh Meridian transmits a single question: are the archivists still rulers, or are they simply another faction now? Smaller polities send encrypted applause, congratulating humanity with an almost giddy relief. The compact's long shadow has fractured, and something new rises in its place. The political center of gravity shifts by degrees but unmistakably toward Earth. Diplomatic packets stream in, requesting treaties, observation rights, or simple assurances of humanity's long-term intentions. Predictive engines map these overtures in real time, charting emerging alliances and zones of instability. Recommendations surface: accept limited treaties, decline entanglements that risk escalation, emphasize transparency over dominance. Humanity follows each with disciplined precision. A quiet microspike forms. Mercy is power, rearranged in the central command vault. Trial standards finalize. They draw from ancient, straight ethical codes older than recorded human civilization, and from modern legal frameworks. Rights of the accused, explicit. Evidence requirements, stringent. Oversight, shared between humans and neutral observers. The structure is designed to survive scrutiny even from the civilizations that fear humanity most. When the standards are broadcast publicly, a shockwave moves through the archivist hierarchy. Their own judicial codes are opaque, punitive, often fatal. Yet this rising force as species they once silenced offers their captured officers something the compact has never offered its adversaries. Dignity. A senior archivist official, newly captured and stabilized aboard a human cruiser, speaks softly into a monitored channel. We curated history to prevent these moments, but perhaps this is the history we needed. His words spread before sensors can intercept them. More neighboring systems shift position. The Cirrus Compact condemns archivist repression outright. The Lonet harmonies withdraw from their archival obligations. Even systems that once feared humanity now pivot, calculating that stability may come not from the old order but from the disciplined clarity. Earth exhibits. Another stinger lands with quiet precision. The galaxy walks toward whoever holds the future steady. Humanity does not celebrate. They do not issue ultimatums or carve borders. Instead, they reaffirm the same message. We seek equilibrium, not dominion. Trials will proceed. Evidence will be reviewed. Archivist leadership will answer not to vengeance, but to law. As channels converge on this new reality, Earth's gravity, political, ethical, historical, draws the galaxy into orbit, and the systems watching from afar understand mercy was not humanity's weakness. It was the foundation of their return. The signal begins as a tremor beneath the noise. A soft harmonic rolls through the deep spectrum bands, too steady for interference, too ancient for any archivist's signature. Human predictive engines halt. Their diplomatic modeling mid-ecostratum nodes pivot as one across Earth's surface. Sensors attuned to relic channels brighten in a pattern unseen for eep. Something buried beneath all 11 strata stirs, as though listening. Then the beacon wakes. Its emergence is not explosive. It rises like a memory resurfacing. A soft pulse emanating from far beyond the ecliptic and ultraviolet rhythm, older than mapped constellations. The harmonic resembles a heartbeat slowed by ages of silence. Data threads return to Earth in coherent packets, each stamped with chronology older than the compact. older than known civilization, older even than recorded. Starlight, timestamp, 8 million years. Within the command vaults, silence settles like gravity. Algorithms attempt translation, fail, and escalate to deeper strata. Precursor lexicons flicker across displays. A phrase crystallizes, incomplete but unmistakable. Custodial chain integrity compromised. A microspike lingers in the air. Someone expected humanity to wake, someone prepared for it. The beacon's second pulse strikes with greater resonance. Images form fractured impressions of early humanity traversing star routes long forgotten. Convening with civilizations whose remnants now exist only in dust, standing before structures that dwarf modern engineering. These are not triumphant memories. They are warnings. Every fragment carries the same motif: containment, stewardship, boundaries not to be crossed. The third pulse arrives with coordinates outside the galaxy's rim. No known warplane touches the region. Predictive engines assess probability of hostile intent at 62%, existential significance at 100%. The beacon is not summoning humanity. It is alerting a custodial presence designed to oversee what humanity once was. Across neighboring systems, diplomatic channels quiver. Some worlds panic at the sudden deep spectrum resonance. Others beg humanity for explanation. Archivist survivors merely stare into the void, realizing the chain of control they once upheld was only the outermost ring of a much older architecture. Humanity, however, does not panic. Strata harmonize, nanolith, intelligences, increase data, throughput. The predictive engines anchor new models, not war strategies, but existential contingencies. Their tone remains steady, even as the unknown presses close. Observe, interpret, do not escalate. A soft stinger emerges from the command network. The past is calling its custodians. Earth responds, not with weapons, but with clarity. A broadcast radiates outward, calm, precise, steady, beacon signal received. Humanity acknowledges custodial inheritance, inquiry protocols active, peace, intent confirmed. The message carries the weight of a species reclaiming identity rather than fleeing threat. The beacon dims, satisfied or simply waiting. But the coordinates remain, pulsing like a distant eye. The galaxy reads the implication. Humanity's rise has awakened observers beyond known space. Forces at once shaped and constrained the course of civilizations. Yet human posture stays unbroken. Fleets hold formation, not in fear, but in readiness. Strata hum with renewed purpose. The lattice of recovered memory folds into future models. In the quiet that follows, Earth stands at the threshold of an age-long deferred, neither triumphant nor afraid, only resolute. The galaxy watches, breath held, as humanity turns its gaze toward the dark beyond the stars, where the custodial age waits to begin again. A fail-safe older than compact. Governance flickered awake and executed its directive without hesitation. The revelation spreads like a fracture. Entire polities pause mid-sentence, reassessing millennia of assumed history. What force could compel whole systems, populated worlds, to erase themselves rather than allow humanity's awakening to propagate? What memory had the compact buried so deeply that even its own core worlds feared its return? A microspike echoes through the channels, something ancient still watches. Yet humanity offers no boast, no demand for fealty. Their next broadcast only reiterates procedure. Prisoners will be treated under protections consistent with interstellar humane conduct. Representatives of surviving archivist authorities may request access to trial frameworks. We do not seek retribution. Some receiving worlds interpret the tone as threat masked in courtesy. Others hear a steadier truth, a civilization rising with the calm of inevitability, not conquest. The predictive engines circulating beneath Earth's surface monitor the galaxy's reactions, mapping fear patterns, diplomatic fractures, potential escalations. But recommendations remain conservative: show restraint, extend structure, de-escalate where possible. In the human command vaults, operatives study the data on the 4 sterilized systems. The numbers are stark, population counts dropping to 0, station lights extinguishing within minutes. Autonomous lockdown protocols sealing histories away. The ethical review flags the event as external to human action. Investigative priority high. But even that phrasing carries weight. Humanity is now strong enough to investigate what once investigated them. A quiet stinger falls into place. Awakening has consequences beyond victory as the final pods are recovered and prisoners settled into secure care. The fleets dim their engines, floating like patient sentinels over Earth's blue curve. The galaxy waits for brutality. Humanity offers law instead. And beneath continents, memory layers continue to stir, reminding everyone, friend and foe, that the past has not finished speaking. The truth does not emerge in a proclamation. It comes as a pattern, quiet, precise, undeniable. Analysts across the liberated channels begin noticing the same anomaly. Humanity's tactical clarity is too complete, its responses to synchronize, its restraint too refined to be improvised. Even with newfound resolve, no species should move with such total coherence minutes after existential threat. Something older guides them, something that remembers, and then the evidence surfaces, not leaked, but released. Humanity publishes a brief, unadorned statement. 11 memory strata have reactivated. These systems predate known galactic chronology. Their function is stabilization, governance, and strategic foresight. No embellishment, no attempt to soften the revelation. Just calm disclosure. Across the galaxy, disbelief fractures into certainty as telemetry from Earth's vaults goes public. Beneath continents and ocean floors, sealed chambers unfold like mechanical petals, revealing structures woven from crystalline alloys unknown to any archivist catalog. Each stratum pulses at a different harmonic, corresponding to operational domains, civil guidance, conflict resolution, moral constraints, historical retrieval. When overlaid, they form a lattice older than 8 million years. A microspike reverberates across every listening scope. Humanity was not unprepared. Humanity was remembering. Within the newly lit chambers, 900,000 Nanilith command intelligences, complete reintegration. They rise from dust motes, suspended in magnetic fields, assembling into coherent nodes with the ease of organisms retaking familiar form. Their activation logs show no uncertainty. They recall instructions written before recorded human civilization protocols, designed not for domination, but for equilibrium. Nanoliths assume positions across orbital nets, defense platforms, and even humanitarian coordination hubs. Their presence is almost invisible, a new efficiency in resource routing, a harmonized cadence in communication bursts, subtle course corrections to ensure safety corridors remain open. They do not command humanity. They assist it, aligning human decisions with architectures meant to protect, not subjugate. As these revelations propagate, archivist scholars unravel the implications. The compact did not suppress human potential. They suppressed remnants of a civilization whose origins they never understood. The earlier amnesia, the forced forgetting, had not erased the design. It had only delayed its awakening. More disturbing is the recovered data thread from Stratum 4, released without commentary. It depicts early human expansion before the compact's rice fleets, navigating routes now lost. Diplomatic accords with species long extinct, conflict mitigations conducted with precision and mercy. The tone is familiar, the same disciplined. Inevitability now unveiled, a stinger lands with quiet inevitability. Humanity has come home to itself. Galactic reactions diverge sharply. Some worlds welcome the return of an ancient stabilizer, relieved at humanity's restraint despite overwhelming advantage. Others fear a resurgence of a power that predates their myths. The compact's remnants, stripped of certainty, scramble to determine how deeply they misunderstood their own archives. Yet Earth remains calm. There is no expansion order, no demand for reparations, no mobilization toward conquest. Instead, the predictive engines issue a public assurance, primary directives anchored to ethical continuity, autonomous escalation prohibited, engagements guided by preservation of life where possible. For many civilizations, those words bring uneasy relief. For some, hope. And beneath it all, the strata hum together, harmonizing fragments of a long-buried identity. Humanity has not become something new. It has returned to something deliberately hidden, intentionally silenced, now risen with unshakable purpose. The galaxy understands. The era of forgetting has ended. The collapse begins not with explosions, but with airlocks opening, Human boarding craft approach the surviving archivist vessels at controlled velocities, matching rotation and drift with effortless precision. Their hulls glow faintly with nanilith guidance pattern signal threads that adjust trajectory down to the micrometer. No weapons are readied, no threats are issued. The posture alone communicates finality. First contact occurs at 3:12 Universal. A compact frigate receives a docking request written in flawless archivist's legal code. It outlines terms of surrender, preservation of life, and custody transfer. The stunned captain hesitates for only seconds before compliance indicators flash across his consoles. He has lost every vector of escape. The human lattice sits around him like an unblinking horizon. Boarding teams move with the same disciplined inevitability as their ships. Armor matte, gestures minimal, weapons holstered unless necessary. Their role is containment, not destruction. Sensors confirm zero resistance in the frigate. Crew members kneel, raise empty hands, or simply stand frozen. Human medics are the first on board, checking for shock, oxygen depletion, or injury sustained during the earlier collapse. One boarding officer delivers the programmed assurance: all personnel will be treated under humane jurisdiction. You are safe. The message spreads faster than the teams can board. Across the grid of immobilized ships, surrender spikes fan outward. By minute 7, 43 archivist vessels transmit compliance codes. By minute 12, another 100. The surrender cascade forms a predictable curve, matching models the predictive engines calculated during the first silence. Each transmission marks another fracture in the archivist hierarchy: admirals yielding to captains, captains yielding to circumstance, lower crews yielding to sheer disbelief. A microspike echoes across networks. Their command chain is gone. Some ships attempt ceremonial resistance, firing a token burst of non-lethal plasma or initiating half-hearted evasive maneuvers. Nanolith-led stabilization drones intercept each attempt without force, magnetizing two hulls and overriding propulsion with surgical precision. No one is harmed. Systems powered down one by one, lights dimming as crews recognize the futility of action. Within 20 minutes, the collapse becomes absolute. The archivist fleet, once the backbone of a coalition that curated history for half the galaxy, now floats as a collection of drifting shells, everyone held gently in humanity's grip. Boarding logs record stark numbers: 312 vessels secured, 44,000 personnel detained, 0 casualties inflicted by human forces. Some prisoners weep when the boarding parties arrive, not from fear burned away during the first silence, but from relief that the unstoppable force has chosen mercy instead of erasure. The archivist compact trained them to believe in controlled narratives. Now they confront a truth no narrative can contain. Humanity's rise is disciplined, not vengeful. In command vaults beneath Earth, nanolith intelligences monitor each surrender. They assign humanitarian resources before tactical ones, directing food units, medical pods, and psychological stabilizers. De-escalation optimal, one node concludes. Hostile capacity reduced to non-threatening baseline. A quiet stinger follows. The war ended minutes ago. They are only now realizing it as the last archivist flagship transmits surrender. Human fleets reposition into soft containment geometry. No blockade, no intimidation, only structured oversight to ensure safety. And in this measured stillness, the compact's hierarchy folds inward, no longer collapsing from pressure but from clarity. Humanity has taken the battlefield without hatred, and that truth alone reshapes everything that comes next. Orbital meshes tighten, microsatellites pivot into new alignments, locking the compact vessel's trajectories with meta-perfect range. Atmospheric relays prepare communication bursts. Rail platforms, still dormant, receive vector requests, but hold fire. There is no haste, no panic, only sequence. The compact misreads the pause's weakness. Their captain orders a saturation strike 3 beams, in rapid pulses, full emitter charge. Even those fade across the sphere, absorbed with the same impossibly stable 91% efficiency. The remaining energy drifts away like pale smoke. A final stinger settles with controlled weight. They cannot touch Earth. Human operators monitor the readings without visible reaction. The engines refine counterforce trajectories. Nanoliths form crystalline guidance nests, Every motion adheres to restraint. The goal is control, not destruction. When preparation reaches its final threshold, the planetary lattice dims, storing the last variables. The next action will define the confrontation not through anger, but through precision. Humanity stands ready to move. The breakout begins with a single breath of silence, in low orbit. Humanity's dormant fleet swans, museum pieces, once written, offers relic hardware ignite with perfect synchrony. Reactivation codes ripple through their precursor forged holes, realigning cores that have slept longer than any living pilot. Thrusters bloom as controlled white arcs, not violent flares. Guidance nests formed from nanolith lattice lock into place. Then the engines take hold. Acceleration, 12 grams sustained. The number ripples across compact sensors, triggering disbelief, then alarm, then something closer to fear. No biological crew should survive that load. No known space-time stabilizer should hold coherence under it. Yet the human vessels move cleanly, as if inertia itself bends to accommodate their return. Each ship traces a sharp vector through the orbital lane, cutting past debris with millimeter precision. Compact intercept formations scramble. They attempt a wedge, then a crescent, then a layered screen meant to catch the breakout arc. All collapse on contact. Human ships slip through the gaps faster than the compact can map them. Each maneuver predicted by engines running futures across thousands of branching paths. No evasive action is improvised. Everything is inevitable. A microspike lands like a quiet verdict. They cannot stop the rise. Kinetic platforms on board the human fleet remain cold, but their trajectories resolve into supremacy positions. Distances tighten to within hundreds of meters, a margin that unnerves even hardened archivist crews. They expected brute force, not orchestration. They expected panic, not discipline. Instead, the formations flowing around them resemble a closing. Hand slow, controlled, certain. One compact frigate attempts a hard burn to break free of the encirclement. The predictive engines anticipate it 0.04 seconds before thrust ignition. 3 human ships pivot accordingly, drifting into its path without firing. Their positioning is enough. The frigate's escape corridor dissolves. It halts, trapped by geometry rather than violence. Nanorith intelligences monitor every vector. They adjust formations with near-organic grace, though their logic is older than language. Their priority is simple: prevent escalation, control the battle space, minimize dominance without slaughter, order without cruelty. Still, human motion holds undeniable power. As the breakout wave rolls past the orbital equator, the compact's command net fractures. Officers report lost logs, lost cohesion, lost lines of retreat. Human vessels flicker into new positions, braking at fractional 12 grams increments to box in the remaining ships. Even their deceleration terrifies the enemy. No drift, no wobble, no sign of stress. One archivist tactician murmurs over an open channel, not realizing it transmits, "This is not a fleet. This is sentence." But humanity leaves the remark unacknowledged. Restraint remains absolute. No weapons discharged. No hull's rupture. Every ship moves as if following rules written long before the compact New Earth existed. Another stinger settles with quiet finality. Supremacy achieved without a shot. When the last vector locks in place, the breakout halts. Human formations hold a perfect lattice around the archivist cluster, sealing every escape route yet offering no lethal strike. Their engines dim to standby, glow, poised but controlled. From the command vaults below, a single assessment moves through the net, kinetic dominance established, awaiting ethical clearance for next phase. And in the weightless pause that follows, humanity positions itself for what must come next, measured, deliberate, unstoppable. The first shot is almost gentle. A single rail slug leaves a human destroyer. As a glint of metal accelerated beyond visible trace, its launch signature compressed into a whisper. No flare, no plume. Only the displacement of air ions around the rail spine, recorded as a faint ripple across local sensors. The slug travels its course in the space between breaths, crossing thousands of kilometers before compact officers can name the threat. Impact, instantaneous. Result, deletion. The archivist cruiser struck first does not explode. It folds, as if an invisible hand has removed a segment of its midline hull. Crew, reactor cut into absence. What remains drifts silently, venting nothing, stunned into stillness by precision. Telemetry classifies the event with 3 words: baseline demonstration complete. Across the human lattice, firing solutions cascade. Predictive engines outline the full engagement against all 2,400 compact ships, calculating outcomes that differ only in decimal points. Nanolith nodes refine each trajectory to avoid debris spread toward Earth. Railguns cycle again. Then the silence deepens. Missile doors open along precursor hulls. The weapons inside do not resemble contemporary arsenals. They are sculpted devices of guided collapse, tuned to terminate targets with minimal residual energy. Their drives ignite in synchronized waves. They advance with the slow certainty of measured consequence. A microspike settles like an iron verdict. The reversal is absolute. Compact formations attempt scatter protocols. They break into fragments, each cluster fleeing along divergent axes, but the predictive engines foresaw the maneuvers 3.1 seconds after the first shot. Rail slugs are already en route, each assigned to a target with ethical scoring to minimize suffering. Missiles spiral through the vacuum with elegant arcs, adjusting at micrometer intervals. One archivist commander transmits a final plea. Fragmented terrify before a missile's soft implosion erases his carrier without light or sound. Human systems record the event dispassionately. Telemetry feeds into the archive: range, angle, casualty, probability before and after strike. No entry contains malice, only resolution. Ships fall in silent sequence. Dozens, then hundreds. Their destruction paints no fire across the void, but leaves only clean lines where vessels once existed. Human operators watch without triumph. This is not vengeance. This is the correction of a threat that refused restraint. A compact attempts one last consolidated burn. A desperate mass charge meant to overwhelm the human lattice. Predictive engines assign 0.0% success probability. Rail batteries fire in long, unbroken chains. Missiles intercept from perpendicular vectors. The charge dissolves into absence. A second stinger lands with cold clarity. 0 survivors. When the final ship disappears, the void returns to stillness. No debris, clouds drift toward Earth, no reactors breach. Every strike has been shaped to erase, not maim. To conclude, not to punish. Even in destruction, humanity's discipline holds. The battle's telemetry compiles into a single, undeniable ledger. 2,400 archivist ships neutralized. 0 human casualties. 0 human casualties. 0 enemy escape. The engines dim, rail lines cool. Missiles return to standby cradles. Humanity's fleets hover in silent geometry above the world that birthed them, patient and unwavering. In command vaults. The final assessment transmits across the lattice. Immediate threat concluded. Transition to recovery and ethical processing. And so the first silence settles not as triumph, but as consequence rendered with unwavering precision. The aftermath begins with a message, not a weapon. Across the fractured bands of archivist communication, a human voice steady, composed, unmistakably former renders the new terms of engagement. All captured personnel will receive full legal protections under human jurisdiction. Medical care is underway. No further harm will come to those who surrender. The words travel farther than the wreckage ever did, seeding confusion through channels once used for dominance. Human fleets reposition around the debrisless void, their geometry gentle now, no longer constrictive. Recovery drones extend from bay doors, collecting escape pods and stabilizing damaged life support modules. Every movement signals the same unshakable ethic. The violence is over. Order endures. Even archivist prisoners, still shaken from the erasure of their armada, feel the shift. They had expected cruelty. Instead they received triage scans, water, warm small mercies, but real ones. Then the wider galaxy begins to answer. Relay networks from the midward bands to the halo packs ignite with frantic cross-traffic analysts. Try to understand how a single engagement reshaped the balance of power. Some attribute the compact's collapse to arrogance. Others whisper of precursors. But one report travels faster than all others, carried in encrypted bursts traced back to the archivist core. For compact systems sterilized themselves the moment humanity's key was activated. No attack, no indac, No invasion, no external signal, just sudden, synchronized shutdowns, habitats purged, data vows locked, star forts sealed into cold stasis. The relic world drifts below, dim and compliant beneath my survey arrays. Humanity's surface signals remain slow, uncoordinated, barely worthy of Category 3 classification. Their orbital lanes show no military formation, only merchant shells and decaying satellites, fossils, orbiting fossils. I log the observation with routine contempt and prepare the archival probe. 97 protocols govern intervention, yet none anticipate resistance from a species we pruned of memory. They remain what they were shaped to be, quiet, unthreatening. Harmless, I dispatched the probe toward Earth's magnetosphere. A thin spike of blue iron trails behind it, vanishing against the planet's night side. When the device pierces the upper exosphere, it begins transmitting the reclamation key, a simple pulse, a harmless one. Even so, I savor the moment. Our last audit was 67 years ago. Nothing about this world should have shifted. My logs describe the inhabitants with precision, low persistence, cognition, limited threat, emergence, cultural stasis through induced amnesia. And so, I speak aloud to the bridge crew, letting the words carry. They will not notice the extraction. Relics rarely do. A few officers chuckle. One mutters a sharper line about primitives losing what little they once had. I do not reprimand him. The compact manages truth, and the truth is that humanity as a footnote is full only when silent. Our long stewardship of history depends on species like this remaining still. But the probe's telemetry jolts, a spike, then another. Deep readings shift as if layers beneath the crust are folding upward, rearranging, answering some unseen signal. My systems flag it as noise. Impossible. Earth cannot possess sealed strata. We erased those capabilities long ago. The probe continues broadcasting the key. On the 11th emission cycle, something answers. A pulse returns broad harmonic, impossibly synchronized, spanning ground stations I did not know existed. The amplitude is precise, surgical, intentional. A stinger forms in my mind, unwelcome. Something remembered us. My officers request clarification. I provide none. Instead, I widen our scan to locate the source of the harmonic. It comes from below continental plates, a depth where no civilization should reach. The readings align into a pattern, one memory stratum opening, like a door unsealing after ages of pressure. A single line of text populates my display, not ours, not theirs. Precursor formatting. Encrypted, then it vanishes. We have triggered something. We did not catalog. A junior analyst notes microsatellite activation, 90 units rising, then hundreds. Cold, ancient, awakening without fusion signatures, as though assembled from dust. She asks whether we should retreat. I almost approve it, but doctrine forbids withdrawal before classification. Maintain survey posture, I say. This is residual architecture, nothing more. Yet the probe's heartbeat now interacts with global grids. Power shifts. Signal loops tighten. Human ground stations align with orbital remnants as if choreographed by a buried intelligence. Another stinger lands with quiet force. They were not supposed to wake. The planet brightens along its night hemisphere. Faint at first, then steady, as though Earth itself inhales. My consoles dim to compensate. Whatever lies beneath their forgotten centuries is rising, structured, and unhurried. I end the cycle with a final log entry, hand steady, voice unchanged. Humanity remains classified as harmless, yet my certainty has thinned. The extraction will proceed, but the next report may require recalibration. The transmission arrives in a single turn, level tone, free of threat or flourish. Compact vessel, your oversight protocols are invalid. Humanity does not consent. Further intrusion will be met with measured response. No anger, no panic, just calm refusal from a species that should not remember how to refuse. The message loops across every channel, translated into dialects we never taught them. For a moment, nothing else follows. No scrambling fleets, no scattered fear signatures, no diplomatic plea, only silence shaped by intent. Inside Earth's command architecture, systems unfold. The first predictive engine activates beneath London strata, assembling models at 3.1 seconds per full engagement cycle. Another wakes beneath the Andean areas. Then one under Pacific fiber reefs. Their outputs merge into a coherent lattice. forecasting not just trajectories but motives, command delays, and likely moral decisions. On compact scopes, the planet remains quiet. Inside itself, it begins reshaping futures. A small station on the moonlights, in a pattern we did not map. Its emission is narrow, disciplined. A human operator anonymous, unseen routes. The refusal protocol across dormant channels, last used a century ago. No tremor in the voice, no uncertainty. Compact vessel, disengage. We will not permit archival extraction. To the humans, this is not rebellion. It is procedure. And beneath those procedures, 900,000 dormant nanoliths, complete. Their reassembly. They gather in shielded vaults, reforming crystalline command nodes from micron-scale dust. Silent, precise, obedient to architectures older than the compact's existence. A microspike blooms in Earth's magnetosphere. They planned for this, yet the broadcast remains courteous, civil, almost gentle. As each predictive engine synchronizes, orbital debris begins aligning into faint, deliberate vector chains, passive positioning, not yet a threat. Civilian grids lighten global load, pulling power toward buried vaults. No alarms sound on Earth. No citizens scream. Humanity rises, with the discipline of a mechanism remembering its function. Compact analysts aboard the survey ship attempt counter-translations. They find no aggression markers. Instead, the syntax matches precursor-derived formats, though with human idiom. The refusal is not only political, it is structural. Earth speaks as if reclaiming legal authority it once held. Below cloud lines, hundreds of microsatellites ignite cold thrusters, sliding into a mesh that tightens around the planet with meter-scale precision. They do not target the compact ship, they map it. Every vector, every emission spike, every shift in heat. Predictive engines feed this into branching trees of consequence, each scored by probability and ethical weight. A note rises in the human network's not a warning, an evaluation. Intrusion, pressure increasing, response options calibrated. Another stinger forms with measured clarity. They are ready, yet not a single weapon discharges. The refusal message repeats, unchanged in tone, unwavering in its lack of fear. Humanity offers restraint even as it accelerates toward inevitability. The predictive engines do not prepare for slaughter, they prepare for order. They avoid civilian loss, collateral arcs, or destabilizing debris fields. Human ascendancy arrives not with fury, but with exacting control. When the final synchronization sweep concludes, Earth's networks settle into quiet alignment. The message plays once more across every channel. Compact vessel, disengage. Your authority has expired. And, with that, humanity waits calm, certain, prepared for the next move. The compact fires first. A clean line of blue-white energy arcs from their forward emitter, calibrated to breach cross-level installations. It should have torn open the upper atmosphere and cascaded into global panic. Instead, the beam meets an invisible shell only kilometers above Earth's limb and slows, as though entering dense fluid. The radiance gutters. The impact registers across our sensors as a muted tremor. Absorption rate, 91%. The figure appears on human consoles instantly. Ground stations capture the waveform, fold it through ancient algorithms, and display the result with clinical calm. The anomaly is not the beam. It is the response how naturally Earth's defense lattice reconstituted itself. As if it had always been there, beneath the atmosphere, waiting for the key to turn. A second shot follows. Stronger, the kind used to cauterize rebellious moons. Again the energy dims on contact, sheathing itself into a thin auroral ribbon before dispersing harmlessly over polar arcs. Cities remain dark silhouettes against the night. No civilian systems even blink. Inside command vaults, predictive engines run new models. They isolate vectors, compare them to precursor inheritance fragments, and flag an emergent pattern. The compact barrage is not testing strength. It is testing history, seeking confirmation of what humanity should not remember. The engines complete their assessment in 3.1 seconds. Counterforce options populate, not retaliation, not spite, procedural necessity. Each option carries an ethical score. Each avoids destabilization of orbital debris lanes or harm to surrendering crews. The lattice hums as nanolith command nodes wakefully, layering themselves into a triad of coherent intelligences. They speak without words, aligning probabilities, drawing battle lines only where required. A microspike coldly marks the moment. They failed to break a stot from the compact vessel. A third beam sweeps downward, broaden out, intended to brute force overwhelm the absorption field. It scatters across the lattice like mist on glass. Human sensors record the interaction with disciplined precision, energy, density, decay rate, harmonic mismatch, lattice flexion, every detail filed into a resurrected archive that should not exist. Then silence returns, bright and absolute dot in a subterranean chamber beneath Antarctica. The oldest engine offers its conclusion. Enemy escalation threshold. Exceeded defensive countermeasures, authorized. The words are steady, free of triumph. Humanity has no desire to annihilate those who fire upon them. The engine simply recognize inevitability.